Well, hello there, and welcome to Rambles, episode 22. And this week, I'm going to be doing This Week in Reestro. That's right, This Week in Reestro. It's a play on This Week in Retro, you know, because if you're not familiar with the This Week in Retro podcast, it's an amazing podcast that covers the week's news in all sorts of retro gaming and retro computing happenings, and they're having a couple of weeks off. So I thought I would try to step into their shoes and steal their thunder a little bit and help to maybe fill a little hole in the world of retro news just give it a try, you know? Just give it a try. It might be a thing, it might not. People seem to have enjoyed when I've covered this kind of stuff in the past. So, yes, a big shout out to Neil, Chris and Dave. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you don't think I'm treading on your toes a bit too much. But anyway, I have a list up in front of me of all of the interesting stories that have caught my attention this week. And the one thing that I've very much deliberately avoided is looking at their subreddit, which basically... the way their podcast works is that people submit stories to their subreddit, and then they basically pick their favourites and kind of the highest upvoted ones, and they're the stories that they cover for the week. But I think it would be very, very off of me to just go on there and steal all of their submissions and all of their stories. So I'm not a big Reddit user anyway. I tend to only go on there if I've got something to submit, and then I'll sort of spend 2 minutes poking around. But other than that, I don't really look at it anyway. So yeah, this is stuff I've kind of spotted on Twitter and elsewhere. So without further ado, let us dive into the first story from this week. So the first thing I spotted doing the rounds this week that caught my eye comes from Voltar. And if you're not familiar with the name Voltar, he's quite a famous or perhaps infamous console modder. I won't go into the details of that, but you can look it up for yourself. He's quite a colourful character. But he moves in the same circles as Bob from Retro RGB. Of course, I've been a guest on Retro RGB's podcast. And also Mike Chi, who developed the Retro Tink and that kind of stuff. And he develops his own mods and puts out modding tutorials for consoles, video mods and mod chips and all that kind of stuff. So very active and well-known member of the community with an excellent YouTube channel. And as I say, he develops his own stuff. Now, this very latest development concerns the Wii U, the Nintendo Wii U, which of course was the follow-up to the Nintendo Wii. Now, you might think, well, that's not retro, is it? The Wii? You know, I was in college or university when I had a Wii. The Wii U didn't come out until like 2012. But I think you have to bear in mind that there's a lot of people out there who are, driving cars and buying houses and getting married and all that kind of stuff, for who the Wii would have been their very first console. It's a long time ago. I hate to say it, but a lot of us are old, and stuff that feels like it was yesterday was a very long time ago. And I don't think we're in a position to gatekeep what other people, are allowed to consider to be retro or not. So I'm going to cover it. So basically, the Wii U has a bit of an inherent fault with the NAND flash memory in that it's failing. And this memory was used internally in the console to store the operating system and various other kind of important core files. And yeah, it's failing due to age. And these consoles are just stopping working. You know, you've got a perfectly good console and... go to turn it on and it's just completely dead to the world, and it's because the NAND has failed. And it's a bit of a shame because the Wii U was a bit of a flop commercially, and I love a flop, as you probably know. But it's also quite a good option for Wii owners because it has a HDMI output and various stuff like that. It's fully compatible with all of the original Wii games, and the innovation that came with the Wii U, kind of over and above the original Wii, was the controller. So it had like a separate tablet type controller with the controls at the side, kind of similar to the Switch nowadays. So you've got the buttons and the D-pad and the analog stick and stuff kind of either side of this screen, and you hold it in your hand, and it basically acts as a secondary screen. So still predominantly a TV-based games console, but the second screen was used for various interesting bits and bobs like in-game maps and extra information, kind of like the second screen on the DS, which of course was around at the same time. And as I say, it's actually kind of a somewhat desirable console because it has HDMI output, which the original Wii doesn't. So obviously it's compatible with all your new monitors and TVs and things. So anyway, I'm not here to make a case for the Wii U, but anything that can save broken old hardware is very much up my street. So what Voltar has done with this NAND recovery kit is it's basically a solder-in modification, very easy to fit, just a couple of points to solder, and it replaces the internal NAND memory with a micro SD interface. So you can basically, if you have a Wii U that's still working, you can use this device to dump the original NAND onto a micro SD card. And if you have one that's dead, you can go out and you can find that somewhere on some kind of grey website, wherever. I'm sure it's all out there. And you can drop it onto the card yourself, and you can actually bring it back from the dead with this mod. And like I say, it's a relatively simple thing hardware-wise, but really, really important for the preservation of these consoles. So my hat is off to Voltar for developing this thing. And it's for sale for $31.80. Bit of a strange price, but there you go. So yeah, only $30 to bring your dead old Wii U back to life. And yeah, added to his range of excellent console mods. I see he's doing stuff with the SNES at the minute. He's developing quite a revolutionary looking video mod for that, which looks really cool. Just gets like super crispy video output from that. And I think perhaps most relevant to me is the N64 RGB mod, which is another video mod for a Nintendo console. And yeah, I installed that, or a variant of it. He makes his own version. There are a few different kind of different variations along the same theme. And I installed one in my N64 in a video very recently, and I was really happy with it. So really cool mod. So yes, if you have a Wii U that is dead because of the NAND memory and you want to bring it back to life, or perhaps you considered buying one, you know, they're really super cheap at the moment. Perhaps because they kind of have this reputation for failing and being sort of very flaky. Yeah, I could recommend this mod. Not that I've tried it myself, but like I say, it comes from a good pedigree. So I will link to that anyway in the usual places, and you can go and check it out. But yes, Wii U preservation and rescue, a very noble cause. My next item is an item of clothing, believe it or not. Or, well, shoes. I mean, shoes count as clothing, don't they? Yeah. Or sneakers or trainers. Yeah, this is going to get confusing pretty quickly. But yeah, this was posted by a user called WSTLR, who's a regular over on the RMC Discord server. Shout out to you. And there was a bit of a discussion around it at the time. But of course, as is always the way with Discord, things very quickly moved on. And I wanted to share this because I thought they were really cool. So thank you very much for inadvertently providing me with some content for Reese Rambles this week. It's very much appreciated. I don't know if you're a listener, but there you go. So this is a listing on the Sotheby's website. Now, you've probably heard of Sotheby's. They are a big auction house known for their fine art auctions and really high value, fancy stuff. But this isn't an auction. This is essentially a buy it now. And what on earth is it? Well, these are Apple sneakers or trainers or shoes. And these are a US size 10.5. And these were made they were actually made as a one-off by a company called Omega Sports. And they were sold at one event, apparently, which was a national sales conference in the 90s. And they don't know how many were actually sold at the time, but yeah, produced in incredibly limited numbers. And the cool thing about these is that they are brand new in the original box. And they even come with an alternative set of laces, which are apparently red, although there's no picture of those, which, considering the asking price, you would think would be included. In fact, there's no picture of the box either. Very slack, Sotheby's. Very, very slack of you. Very lazy of you. No better than a typical eBay seller. But anyway, about these shoes. So they're white. In fact, I'll read the description off the website for you. So it says, featuring a predominantly white upper, the old school rainbow apple logo. Remember the old rainbow apple logo? On both the tongue and lateral quarter is a standout detail. Having never reached the general public, this particular pair of sneakers is one of the most obscure in existence and highly coveted on the resale market, which I can believe. I mean, there's people out there who will spend a lot of money on these kind of highly collectible trainers or sneakers or whatever. And, there are even modern companies making them who will deliberately produce very limited edition versions for these collectors, and they'll keep them pristine in the boxes on the shelves and I guess as a kind of investment. And hey, why not? People collect all sorts of stuff. I mean, I'm sat here surrounded by thousands of pounds worth of, completely pointless old computer equipment, a lot of which doesn't work. So I'm hardly in a position to judge other people's hobbies. But why not? But of course, these sneakerheads have some competition from us retro computing guys this time around. So you better get in there and snap these up pretty quickly if you want them, because this is a hot item. They come with complimentary shipping. I don't know if that includes international shipping. I would hope so. But it doesn't include sales taxes and customs duties and that kind of thing. So you just have to watch out for that. And the asking price for these is $50,000. So yes, a pair of incredibly rare limited edition Apple shoes, which were produced for a one-off sales conference in the 90s. US size 10.5. And they're $50,000. So if you're interested in those, I would jump on them very quickly, because they're sure to sell very quickly. And I should point out that they're not eligible for return. So if you buy them and they don't fit, unfortunately, you're not allowed to return them. I'm not quite sure how that works here in the UK, because I'm pretty sure the distance selling regulations would have something to say about that. But there you go. So yeah, Apple trainers from the mid-90s, $50,000. I will link to those in the usual place if you're interested. And if you do buy them, let me know down in the comments. So, from shoes to actual retro hardware. And believe it or not, the actual dictionary definition of retro, as in something brand new in the style of something old, rather than the kind of bastardized version of retro that we use in our hobby to refer to actual old stuff. But we've already had one debate so far, which is as to whether the Wii can be considered retro. So let's not get into the other big raging retro debate as well in the same episode. Because ultimately, as long as we all know what we're talking about, does it really matter? So yes, moving swiftly on from that minor diversion, this is the Heber Console 8, which was announced just a couple of days ago. And this thing looks really cool. So Heber, in the world of retro gaming, I mean, Heber have been around for years, and they're probably, the reason they've kind of come into the public eye in recent years is, of course, because of Neil from RMC, and basically they're his landlords for his new cave museum that he's building. But they are an electronics manufacturer, and they have a gaming provenance that goes back years and years, making electromechanical stuff and stuff for like fruit machines and gaming machines, and then like grabber machines and all sorts of stuff. Really cool stuff, and it's all designed and made in the UK as well, which is really awesome. And most recently, of course, probably best known for the Mr. Multi-System, which was a fantastic console, multi-system console built around the Mr. project, of course. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about their very latest project, which has literally just dropped. As I say, it's called the Console 8. So, what is the Console 8? Well, this is based around an open source project again. And this is a project by a guy called Bernardo Kastrup from the Byte Attic, which you may well have seen around. He's very prominent and very kind of active in the retro community. And a couple of years ago, he designed a system called the Agon Lite, which was it's a self-contained Z80 or Z80, but no, we're British here. We're going to stick with Z80. It's a Z80-based computer which boots into BASIC. And it basically works the same way as those old computers that we all had sort of back in the 80s, like the BBC Micro and that kind of thing. In fact, it is very much inspired by the BBC Micro, and it runs BBC Basic, which many people consider to be one of the best versions of BASIC that were around at the time. And I certainly wouldn't disagree. And it uses a real Z80 hardware CPU on there. It's not like an FPGA or emulation or anything like that. And the project is completely open source, so there are various different kind of spins and takes on this architecture. He's put all of the hardware designs and schematics and software and stuff out there as open source, which is really, really cool. And Heber have picked it up and they've made their own consoleized version of it. I guess kind of similar to how they did with the Mr. Multi-System. So there's a vertical stand for this thing, and it has two DE9 joystick ports on the front, and it's very much designed for kind of console, for kind of a gaming experience. Obviously, it still runs BASIC and everything else, and you can still use it as sort of originally intended, as per the Aegon Lite. But I think the angle that they've kind of gone for on this is kind of as a plug and play 8-bit 80s style games console, which is really cool. And of course, as is to be expected with Heber, they've designed a really nice 3D printed enclosure for it. They're one of the best in the business when it comes to 3D printing stuff. So really nice finish, really nice design on that. And yeah, you can hook it up to your modern TV with a USB keyboard and everything, and you can get on there and you can start hacking about with BASIC and writing your own games, and then you can plug in an Atari compatible 9-pin joystick and play those games, and all with the kind of the all of the ease of use and accessibility of an 80s system running BASIC, but with all of the kind of nice modern conveniences and reliability and compatibility with modern TVs and that kind of stuff as well. So really, really cool project. It looks really awesome. And I hate to admit this, but I was actually offered an Aegon Lite back when they were very first launched, and my channel was still relatively small. And I followed the Byte Bernardo on Twitter for a very long time, and he's followed me, and we have had some sort of have commented on each other's stuff and are aware of each other. And when he was trying to get this thing off the ground, he actually offered one to me, and I actually turned it down because I didn't think I could do it justice. I hate accepting stuff just for the sake of accepting stuff to cover it on the channel, and particularly if I don't feel qualified to really sort of talk about it. So I don't. And I kind of regret it. But at the time, obviously, of course, it was brand new and there wasn't really any software and stuff. And I would have had to have coded my own stuff on BASIC, in BASIC, to kind of show off the capabilities of the system and stuff. And there were just other people out there who were better qualified to do that. And when those videos kind of started to appear, I was actually quite pleased that I did turn him down, because I just think they did a much better job of showing off kind of what the whole platform was capable of. But anyway, that's just a personal anecdote. This is certainly not about me. So if you've kind of been eyeing the Aegon Lite ecosystem from a distance for a while, and kind of been pondering whether to sort of get into it and whether to dabble with it, it looks like Heber's Console 8 would be a very good starting point for that. Very much how I was with the Mister, in fact. It's a project I've been following since the very early days, and there's so many different options out there, and then they just made this thing that was kind of packaged up that was basically plug and play, and I thought, actually, now is the time to get into it. And it's certainly not a decision that I regret. I mean, I play with my multi-system all the time, and it's a really great system. So I think I may well be picking up one of these Console 8s as well, and getting into some of the games that have been written for the Aegon Lite platform. So I'll probably be doing a video on that at some point. And of course, as with everything else covered in this ramble, and I know I've already said this a couple of times, but I'm going to say it every time, that will be linked in the usual places for you to go and check out. And finally, some rather unfortunate news from the world of retro, I'm afraid. And this I'll go straight into it. This concerns a website called vintageisthenewOld.com, which I'm sure is a domain that you've probably seen around and that you're familiar with. And I saw this pop up on Twitter earlier this week, and I clicked on it and instantly recognized the website, the banner at the top and everything. It's a website I've come across plenty of times over the years. Some really great, reviews and articles and things covering the world of retro and the world of vintage gaming. Loads of different platforms covered. Started way back in 2011. Now you might think, way back in 2011? That was like yesterday, but it was 12 years ago, which is a bloody good run for any blog. And it has grown into a team of people. And essentially, the post says, and there is unfortunately another rather nasty sting in the tail as well, which I'll also talk about a bit later on, but. Basically, the post here from Paolo basically says that the fun's gone out of running the website. That in the early days he had a really great community around the site, and people used to kind of respond to stuff, and they'd have regulars and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm kind of reading between the lines here, and he's absolutely made it clear that he's not blaming the community. It's just that things have changed over that span of time. But essentially, the engagements kind of dropped right off on the site. They're still getting good clicks and views and plenty of sort of traffic to the site, people reading the articles. But the one thing that he really enjoyed from running the site is responding to people and talking to people and kind of having that back and forth with the community. And that aspect has died off over the years, and it's basically meant that the site's kind of become a bit of a chore for him and less of a creative outlet and less of a fun thing. And just kind of going through the motions, which is quite a common story, I think, in the world of sort of creators and creative stuff and writing. And if it gets to the point where the fun goes out of it, then why should you feel obliged to keep putting stuff out there for free? So totally understand that. It's quite sad to see one of these big names that's been around for a very long time thrown in the towel, but I suppose it's the honourable thing to make that decision and make an announcement and draw a line under it, and move on to hopefully more interesting and more fun projects. So obviously wish them all the best for the future. I'm sure whatever Paolo and the team come up with will be good. But there was also a bit of nastiness as well. So they have an annual writing competition where they basically ask people to submit articles for the website, and it's all a bit of fun. But there are prizes available, and the prizes aren't hugely valuable or anything like that, but just a sort of a token thing to recognise people's efforts, and like I say, a bit of fun. But after they'd taken the decision to kind of shut this thing down, they announced the winners of this year's writing competition, and had a really nasty email from the person that came in third, which is absolutely mind-boggling. And he's actually posted it here, and I don't know if I should read it out. Should I read it out? I think, yeah, let's read it out. So the person that came in third place has sent this email, and it's censored on here, so I shall censor it. And it says, "I'm not interested in the prize, mate. Take my story off your website. Go ... yourself and your biased judges too ... You let that pretentious moron crapping on about staring at a..." That's not a censored word. "Title screen and some Aussie pirate beat my story. At least my work was structured like a ... story. I know your ... was a scam. Remove my story from your piece of ... website." Now, obviously, that's someone who's... they claim they're not interested in the prizes and stuff, but that's crazy. I mean, if you're submitting stuff to a writing competition like this, I presume it's because you have an interest in writing and wanting to write articles for websites and magazines and that kind of thing. And winning third place in a competition like this on such a big and well-established website, it's a prestigious thing. It's something that you should be proud of. And I mean, I don't know who this person is. I haven't read the entries and stuff, but if that's your attitude, you're not going to make it in the world of writing. I'm sorry, but you have. It's a community, and the world of retro gaming and retro computing. It's a small community. Everybody knows each other, and getting angry about stupid stuff and attacking people personally is it's not going to get you anywhere, I'm afraid. So. Hey, but obviously that's kind of cemented the decision in their minds that shutting down the website was the right decision to make, and I can't say I blame them. Unfortunately, I used to run a retro gaming blog years and years ago, which I'm sure is a story I will tell at some point. But we used to get all sorts of kind of angry and nasty people, and it is what it is. But it's hard not to take it personally, and. Yeah, it's one of those things. But anyway, yeah, part of the story, not part of their decision. Apparently, the decision had already been made, but like I say, just confirmed in their minds that it really wasn't a fun thing to be involved with anymore. So yeah. Anyway, this post, as you can imagine, does have quite a lot of engagement on it. It's got 34 responses at the time of reading, at the time of recording, and lots of people. Just kind of marking the passing of the website and, passing on their condolences and stuff and thanking the team for all of their work over the years. So there you go. Not all fun and games as far as the internet is concerned, but something that I wanted to talk about this week. A smarter man than me would have structured this slightly differently and put a positive story at the end, but I don't have one for you. I've run out of stuff. So there you go. Anyway, I hope you agree that an attempt has been made to cover for This Week in Retro's absence with This Week in Reestro. Just a bit of fun. Of course, I'm not hoping to take over from them or steal their jobs or anything like that, but perhaps I filled a little void this week and kept you somewhat entertained with my stories from the retro computing and retro gaming world. As always, the links will be in the usual places to everything that I've talked about. If you're listening on YouTube, the links will be down in the description. If you're listening on your favourite podcast platform, they will be in, hopefully there's a show notes or a description section that you can go to, or just Google them, or don't, whatever. So that's it. Go and subscribe to Rose Tinted Spectrum. Go and subscribe to him because he has an excellent channel. I'll link to his channel down in the description. And he does game reviews and that kind of stuff, but a really funny guy and well worth checking out. So that's my recommendation for this week because, of course, you're already all subscribed to me, so there's not really much point in me asking you to do that. Thank you very much for listening. And big shout out to the TWIR guys and looking forward to their triumphant return. Bye.